Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. So we talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Nurse Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. We have 2 weeks left of the USFL regular season. We are at week 9, and the playoff race is getting really interesting. The South Division, every team is still in play to make the playoffs. Birmingham's at 6-2, while Houston, New Orleans, and Memphis are all at 5-3. And in the North Division, the Philadelphia Stars are leading at 4-4. The Michigan Panthers are at 3-5, and the Pittsburgh Maulers and the New Jersey Generals are both at 2-6 and in danger of missing the USFL playoffs. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens, but these Week 9 games are going to be really important in determining who makes the 2023 USFL playoffs. In the first game of the week, you have the Michigan Panthers going on the road to the Pittsburgh Maulers. This game's in Canton, Ohio. This is a fairly important game because of the fact the Michigan Panthers are 3-5, and if they win, they'll have a great chance to solidify their spot in the USFL playoffs, while the Pittsburgh Maulers, if they don't win, they will be eliminated. And they're 2-6, but they've been starting to play some better football. Last week, they lost 20-19 to the Houston Gamblers. They had a really solid game. Unfortunately for the Pittsburgh Maulers, they couldn't get that win. And this game here is also not going to be a home field advantage for them. Obviously, it's in Canton, Ohio. That's where they play their home games. It just doesn't really benefit them that much. But the Michigan Panthers, they are a beatable team. But last week, they only lost to the New Orleans Breakers 24-20. And the fact that Michigan's now settled on Josh Love again as their starting quarterback, they've been playing much better football. Last week, he was 22-32 for 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick, and he had 2 carries for 8 yards. Reggie Corbin had 11 carries for 45 yards, and Joe Walker had 5 receptions for 58 yards. A side note, Reggie Corbin did get banged up last week, so we'll have to see if he's able to return, and Stevie Scott also missed the game as well due to injury, so Michigan's going to have to hope that one of the running backs will be healthy this week, but if they are, the Michigan Panthers will have a great chance to win this game because they were able to hang with the New Orleans Breakers team that is better than the Michigan Panthers on paper, and even though the Pittsburgh Maulers are a capable team, and Troy Williams is a good quarterback who's been playing some solid football lately. He was 20-26 for 214 yards and 7 carries for 36 yards and a touchdown. Madre London, 8 carries for 41 yards, and Bailey Gaither, 6 receptions for 70 yards. So it's not like Pittsburgh's a pushover. They have a solid offense, and their defense is capable, but I do think that the Michigan Panthers are a team that knows their spot right now on potentially making the 2023 USFL playoffs. I think they're going to play really hard in this game. Pittsburgh, this is their last stand. They have to win this game if they want to have a shot, but I do think that Michigan's just a little bit better than Pittsburgh on both sides of the ball. It should be a really solid game, but I am going to go with the Michigan Panthers to beat the Pittsburgh Maulers 21-17 for Michigan to move to 4-5 and Pittsburgh to fall to 2-7 and be eliminated from the playoffs. The next game, which could potentially be the game of the week, you have the New Orleans Breakers and the Memphis Showboats. Both teams are at 5-3, and in this South Division, anything can happen. Both teams right here will not be eliminated completely if they lose, but it will extremely damper their chances because of the fact if you fall to 4 losses, that might almost eliminate you from the playoffs. That's how good the South Division has been compared to the North. New Orleans, they last week beat the Michigan Panthers 24-20. That was a huge win for New Orleans because if they had a loss last week, that would have put them on the brink this week. And Lee Bethel Thompson, he was 25 of 34 for 328 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. McLeod Bethel Thompson is a solid, experienced quarterback who's had a lot of success in the Canadian Football League. He's like the A.J. McCarron of the USFL. He's one of the oldest guys in the league. He plays solid football, but he is very turnover prone, and he does not have scrambling ability, something most quarterbacks in this league actually can't do. So it does allow him to get sacked a lot, but when he's upright, he's actually a really solid quarterback. Wesley Hills does help out McLeod Bethel Thompson a lot, but he definitely struggled last week. He had 23 carries for only 36 yards, and he had 4 receptions for a touchdown and 37 yards. And Johnny Dixon had 9 receptions for 136 yards and a touchdown, so the passing game was working much better for New Orleans last week than the running game, but they're going to have to get the running game going if they want to win this game. And what's going to make it even harder for New Orleans, this game's in Memphis, and the Showboats crowd is really solid. And Memphis, they've been playing much better football since their 0-3 start. They've won 5 games in a row. They're playing great, and they show no signs of slowing down. Last week, they beat the New Jersey Generals 25-16, and that was with quarterback Cole Kelly only being 15-24 for 176 yards and a pick. He didn't even have his best game. He did have 12 carries for 24 yards. Actually showed a little bit of scrambling ability, something that he's not really known for doing, but he actually was fairly solid on a couple runs. Kareth White was excellent. He had 23 carries for 102 yards and a touchdown, and Vinny Papelli, he is a guy that's definitely Mr. Reliable on the offensive end at wide receiver for the Memphis Showboats. He had 3 receptions for 36 yards. This game's going to go down the wire, and I can really see either team having a great chance to win, but something tells me with that home crowd for the Memphis Showboats, they've won their last 5 games. They're on a roll, and New Orleans is really struggling to find their footing all around. I do think that the Showboats are going to find a way to win again and beat the New Orleans Breakers 24-21. It should be a great game. New Orleans will have a great shot still to make the playoffs even if they lose, but with a win it'd be a lot better for them, but I do feel like the Memphis Showboats will find a way to win at the end of the day. Now the other game that could be the potential game of the week, you've got the Birmingham Birmingham Stallions at 6-2, traveling on the road to the Houston Gamblers at 5-3. This game is in Memphis as well, so it's not a home field advantage for the Houston Gamblers. Unfortunately, they don't have a big turnout when their games are at home in Memphis. But Birmingham, they are a team that is really solid, and I think they would have a great chance to win this game if there was a big crowd in this game. Last week, they beat the Philadelphia Stars 27-24. That was a huge game. It was a rematch of the 2022 USFL Championship game, and Birmingham beat Philadelphia then, and they won again. And Alex Magoo was 24-35 for 333 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he had 5 carries for 19 yards. Alex Magoo has been playing so much better the last couple weeks. The longer he's been starting for Birmingham on the offensive end, he's doing a better job with Jamar Smith out. He's getting much more comfortable in the offense, and Skip Holtz is giving him the reins to learn through his mistakes and get better week to week, and he's been doing a great job of that. CJ Marable's 11 carries for 56 yards, and Darius Days at 4 receptions for 120 yards and a touchdown. Darius Days is a guy that I think will get an NFL shot. He's playing great football. Jay Sternberger's a great tight end, and then you got Shark Dog on the defense, Scooby Wright. Birmingham's got talent. In spite of the injuries to both Scarborough and Jamar Smith, Birmingham's found their footing, and they lead the USFL now with their record in the standing. It's crazy that they've regained their top spot in the league, and they're doing much better. But this will be a tough game at Houston, because Houston, they only beat the Pittsburgh Maulers 2019 last week, and they've been struggling a bit lately the last couple weeks. But Houston, like Memphis, has been a team that's turned it around lately after a slow start to the season. They have really turned it around and playing much better football. Kenji Bahar, he was 11-20 for 146 yards and a touchdown and 6 carries for 5 yards. He didn't have his best game last week against the Pittsburgh Maulers, but he did enough to get the job done. He didn't turn the ball over, and that is the most important thing for Kenji Bahar. When he's not turning it over, he's a solid quarterback. Mark Thompson, he carried the load for the Houston Gamblers again on the offensive end. He had 14 carries for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Justin Hall, 3 receptions for 40 yards. This is a really interesting game. If Houston loses, it'll put them in the same predicament as New Orleans. Both of them will have 4 losses, and it might come down to the next week if the Memphis Showboats do lose to still have a shot in the final week of the regular season to make the USFL playoffs. It's going to be really interesting, and I think that the Birmingham Stallions are going to have a tall task in this game, but Birmingham's playing great football on both sides of the ball, and I think that their talent's just a little bit better than the Houston Gamblers, and Birmingham is a team that plays really solid on the road and with no fans. I think that's going to really benefit Birmingham. I'm going to go with the Birmingham Stallions to beat the Houston Gamblers 28-21, for Birmingham to move to 7-2 and completely safe for the USFL playoffs, and for the Houston Gamblers to fall to 5-4 and be in danger of potentially not making the playoffs. And in the last game of the USFL slate in Week 9, you've got the Philadelphia Stars at 4-4, and they're traveling on the road to the New Jersey Generals, who are 2-6, and this game is in Canton, Ohio, so again, no home field advantage for either team. Not going to really be a big crowd there. Last week, Philadelphia lost 27-24 to the Birmingham Stallions. That was a really tough loss, but it did show the growth of the Stars. They've been playing much better football than they were at the beginning of the season, just like Memphis and Houston. They were really struggling at the beginning of the season, but they've really turned their season around, and they are the front runners in the North to make the playoffs. Case Cookis was 20-32 for 265 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick, and 5 carries for 19 yards. The biggest thing about the Philadelphia Stars at the beginning of the season, Case Cookis was getting sacked a lot, and they were not getting any running lanes. Their offensive line has dramatically improved. Case Cookis is not getting sacked as much, and he's regaining his confidence to play at a high level like he was last year, and he's really starting to flash that again. And Dexter Williams, he had 15 carries for 52 yards, and Corey Coleman at 4 receptions for 107 yards and a touchdown. He's another guy I think that could get an NFL shot. Again, Corey Coleman, a great wide receiver for the Stars, but Case Cookis' confidence is starting to shine. Bar Anderson, head coach, is really starting to figure out the offense again, and with the offensive line doing better, everything's coming together for the Stars, and their defense, while they do give up some big plays at times, it is fairly solid overall. And New Jersey's not a team that is a barn burner on the offensive end. They're only 2-6, and last week they lost 25-16 against the Memphis Showboats. Dakota Prukop, he's a new quarterback playing for the New Jersey Generals. He was 14-26 for 128 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns and a pick, but he had 6 carries for 76 yards, so he definitely displayed a running ability. He played over Kyle Lauletta for the most part in the game, and DeAndre Johnson. New Jersey's trying to figure out the round the offensive end, but maybe Dakota Prukop's running ability will be able to help them against the Stars. Darius Victor, 9 carries for 26 yards and had a receiving touchdown. His impact is really reduced lately. He was playing much better at the beginning of the season, but he's really trailed off with fumbles and a lot less carries and rushing yards lately, but he's still a solid running back. And Alonzo Moore had 3 receptions for 36 yards and a touchdown. Again, this is the last stand for the New Jersey Generals, just like the Pittsburgh Maulers. They have to win to stay alive for the playoffs, and I think that they will play really hard in this game, but the Philadelphia Stars, they're playing too good on both sides of the ball. Case Cookis' confidence is now back at an all-time high, and I do feel like with no home field advantage, it's going to be tough for New Jersey to win this game. They'll have a shot if Dakota Prukop does play really solid and get a lot of yards on the ground, but I'm going with the Philadelphia Stars to eliminate the New Jersey Generals and move them to 2-7, and for Philadelphia to move to 5-4 and beat the Generals 21-14. I think Philadelphia is going to just be a little bit too much on both sides of the ball, and they will be a lock now for the 2023 USFL playoffs. It's going to be be really interesting. I think that these games are becoming more and more important. The South Division, it's going to be crazy to see which teams do end up making the playoffs. All 4 teams still have a shot. It's crazy, but it makes for a lot of fun and intrigue as we start to wrap up the regular season in the USFL. But I'm going with the Michigan Panthers, the Memphis Showboats, the Birmingham Stallions, and the Philadelphia Stars to all get wins this week. They all should be great games. 2 potential game of the weeks that could be really solid, and both teams giving it all that they have, and they should be really close games. But it should be an awesome week 9 of the 2023 USFL season. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing which teams do end up making the USFL playoffs at the end of the regular season. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you think about the week 9 games of the 2023 USFL season, what you think about my picks for this week's games, and which teams you think will make the playoffs at the end of the regular season. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I will see you next time.